gonna say, hey, I wanna go ahead and deadlift, and you get in a neutral stance, and you can't because the lateral structures are too tight, and it's pulling on your knee, it's pulling on your hip, it's causing you to go ahead and rotate your pelvis, and then you know what happens when you actually go ahead and rotate your pelvis and it gets locked in nutation, counter nutation, meaning that one side goes forward and it's predominantly stuck there. The spine has a tendency to rotate to that same side, okay? Now you have the other side, all the other structures like, and they're trying to bring you back over. So here's the thing. If you actually externally rotate your femur, just biomechanically, and there's a nice book, and I'll get the name of the book, I'm sorry, I can't remember it, it's by a PT named Fleming, okay? And he actually, what he did was, instead of just assuming all these muscles, all these things we think about muscles are true, him and his colleagues actually grabbed a bunch of athletes, and they actually had them do different lifts and activities with an MRI to actually see if the muscles actually fired the way they're saying so. A long time ago, a very smart man by the name of Paul Snell, one of the few things that actually got out of Egoscue, the exercises aren't so good, but he's a really brilliant biokinesiologist. He explained to me years ago, when you actually externally rotate your femur, you shut off your paraspinals. Your multifidi are at a mechanical disadvantage to actually fire and actually extend the spine. And multifidi, paraspinals, they're segmental, meaning they cover a couple of segments and then they stop and the next one starts. Not like erectors from the base all the way to the top, they're one continuous fiber. When you actually externally rotate your femur, the bicep femoris actually pulls on the sacroiliac ligament, which therefore pulls on the dorsal sacral ligament, which shuts off your multifidi, your paraspinals. So now your erectors, which are only supposed to be doing what? Primary movers, extending the trunk, are now acting as stabilizers. And whenever your erectors do that, they always compress the spine when they do it. Then you have rotation in the pelvis, you have rotation in your spine, then you have compression from the erectors, and you're trying to deadlift that way. And then you say, Scott, my back really bothers you. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it does, okay? So one of the first things you have to go ahead and do, you have to understand is, we have to release all those other structures. We'll get into that in another seminar, okay? That's just giving you a reason why maybe this is not working out too well for you, okay? Because then we can't. I'm trying to go ahead and drop into the bottom of my deadlift, and I can't, I got too much pressure on my knees. Well, remember what I said about your calves? You get this neurological tension in your calves, they're not going to do the job and actually release and drop you down. Now, one of the things I picked up on a few years ago, and it's really becoming clear to me, is I stopped blaming muscles and saying they're the bad guy. Hip flexors, bad hip flexors, turn off hip flexors, okay? And I same thing with calves. We're overworking our calves, so stop training our calves. And I started I'm making a comeback, and I started trying to deadlift and squat again. I still had all this pressure. I'm blasting my hamstrings, blasting my glutes, and I'm like, I still feel uncomfortable at the bottom of my deadlift, my squat, what's going on? So I scratched my head and I'm like, well, the gastrocs, they're a secondary, they assist with what? Knee flexion, right? What happens if I actually train my gastrocs? So I actually went and did 3 or 4 sets of gastroc, came back over, no problem dropping down. But now they're doing the job, letting go, and let me drop down to the bottom of the squat, okay? So what am I saying with all that? I'm saying there's all this prep work you need to do before you ever put your hands on the bar. You need to strengthen your glutes, you need to strengthen your hamstrings, you need to strengthen your gastrocnemius, you need to make sure that your pelvis is not rotated in order for you to be comfortable on the bottom of your deadlift, okay?
Or it can just do mobility work too, right?
Okay, well, all of that. But the thing about this is understand this, and that's rate, that's Z, okay, which is what this is about. Understand this, you do the mobility work, you still have to load it with a load in the proper context, okay? You still have to do it. The way I do it in my clinic, I actually do my Z drills, and I do soft tissue. You guys won't do that. Do my soft tissue, and then I have them do the corrective exercise afterwards, and then I lock it in with Z again, okay? Because remember, all the reps that you've actually loaded, doing it the wrong way, with the load. And that may explain the reason why some of you are not getting the results from your training program or from someone else's training program. You're like saying, well, I'm doing my mobility drills, why isn't it